quick, before we jump into this video, I gotta show you guys something that I have been working very hard on in conjunction with the homie Fern Semi-Famous Barbecue, and that is our official line of Work For It beef jerky, as well as, oh, hold on, give me a second here, as well as bacon jerky. Now, if you guys know Fern, you know Fern knows his meat. So me and Fern have been working tirelessly on taste testing, getting the right quality meat, and getting everything dialed in for this line of jerky, and we have freaking nailed it, in my opinion. So far, we have launched 2 flavors. We've got the Rhino Ranch Signature Bacon, which is a nice blend of barbecue flavor on like just the perfectly cooked bacon. And it's pre-cooked, so you can literally like, you just leave this in your truck and you're good to go. And then we've also got the Blood, Sweat, and Tears, our spicy beef jerky line. I like things spicy, but I don't like so spicy that like you can't actually eat it. This is like the perfect amount of spice that you can devour the entire bag, and the burn goes away so quickly that you're gonna want another bag. Don't take my word for it. I would love for you guys to try it out. Head over to workforapparel.com, pick you up a couple of bags, and let me know what you think. They will also make great gifts for the holidays, and none of my animals were used in the making of these. Let's roll to this video. What's up and good morning, guys? Welcome back to another video. I feel like we're just gonna start off every single video from now on with a vehicle of mine that has a dead battery. The Mini X needs a new battery. I let this thing drain to 0 a few too many times before we put the low voltage disconnect that's in there. So she's a little hard to start on cold days like today. However, with my Noco jump box, this thing fired right up, and you know, we got to rip in the Bronco a little bit. So in the last video that we filmed out here, when I hopped in the Mini X, I talked about my brush cutter that I have here, and I have never seen somebody running a brush cutter on a Mini X. Haven't looked that hard. Obviously they exist, they're out there, somebody's doing it, but they're very few and far between, and I might have found one of the reasons why. I told you guys I would tell you a story on how dangerous that was. So while the Mini X warms up there and charges the batteries a little bit, because we're gonna have to shut it off to swap out the hydraulic couplings, here's a little quick story time on me using that thing for the first time. Obviously when I bought it, it was summertime, and it's not when you want a brush cut. Thankfully today is pretty overcast. It has been super moist every morning, so I think there's enough moisture out in the vegetation that we're not gonna start a fire. Anyways, when I purchased that thing, I didn't want to go brush cut where I could start a fire. So instead, I just stayed around the house, somewhere that I could reach with a water hose if need be. And this area right here was all pretty grown in. It's actually looking really good right now. So I was up in here brush cutting away. Meanwhile, my girl was over here picking weeds around the fire pit. As I'm brush cutting, like this was, mind you, this was like up to here. You couldn't see any of this area. And there's a lot of rocks that I think were put around the plants at one point. I'm not exactly sure why, maybe just to denote little planters, decorative, not sure. So I'm in here brush cutting away, and then I just hear ka-dunk, and I'm gonna show it to you in a second. It is not a small rock. Get lobbed all the way over my girl who's right there at the fire pit, and just shoot straight at like that side of the house. And I'm like, oh God, please do not go through my sliding glass door. Obviously I was in an enclosed cab, the thing was running, couldn't hear anything. And let me show you guys where that thing landed. This was a, yeah, this was pretty bad. So here is the chunk of stone. I mean, this thing is hefty. It probably weighs a solid, I don't know, 6 to 10 pounds. It's not a light rock. So it, I didn't see anywhere where it hit the concrete or anything, so I don't know if it got a hop, skip, and a bounce. However, it did end up putting a nice hole right here through my stucco. Through the black paper, it went in there pretty deep. This thing was freaking moving. Thankfully, nobody got killed. However, I think there is a new rule. If I'm on the brush cutter, I need to be hundreds of yards away from people, because this is a solid, I don't know, from here to there, probably 75 feet or so, that thing chucked a 10-pound piece of stone. So I decided at that point we should probably call it quits, but all this area in between our fruit trees here, and you guys can see these things are freaking flourishing. Look at all those oranges, I think. Other types of oranges. I believe these are lemons. We've got a million grapefruit on that tree right there. Anyways, there's a bunch of light grasses in here, and I knew there was no rocks in here. So I reached over, I believe it was this side right here, and just kind of tried to wave it back and forth and knock down some of those grasses. And then I hooked a hydraulic line on that tree. Didn't see it, pulled back a little bit, which loosened the hydraulic fitting and just started spraying hydraulic fluid everywhere. So that was my first and only experience with this brush cutter. I'm hoping today goes a lot better. We shall see. I have not used it since. It's been months and months and months. So we're going to detach our bucket here. And if you guys are ever gonna order an excavator, make sure you order it with the hydraulic disconnect for your pins. That way you never have to get out of the cab to disconnect attachments. So we will disconnect it there, set that down. Now this thing's, I gotta remember how to hook this up. I think it was a little tricky because you're like upside, bring her around town. We lock the pins and hopefully we're in line here. All right, now we are attached. Now we're gonna lower our boom here so we can get to our hydraulic lines. So I'm gonna disconnect my thumb attachment because we need these hydraulic lines, which currently power this, to now power the brush cutter there. And then I like to just leave these in place and I'll bungee them up. And then we run these big old girls, which these things are super long. They're almost too long. I might need a shortening because they do kind of get in the way. I'll do a little connection there. Which one's the other one? There we go. And a little connection there. All right. She ain't the prettiest, but she'll work. Okay, I got her fueled up here. Let's see if she starts again. We're running for a minute. All right, we're good, we're good. So here's to hoping today is gonna go a lot better than the first time that we used this thing. Now this thing is heavy. If you remember when we first got it, we had issues with getting it to run with the hydraulic system. Turns out we just had bad fuel in the excavator and just like a bunch of weird stuff happened because of that. Now because I haven't used it in a while, we're gonna go down here, we're gonna get away from the house, away from the vehicles. We'll go try it a little bit and make sure everything works before we actually get down to business. Now for a tiny bit of added safety, I'm gonna put the glass here, but I'm gonna show you guys why this thing is freaking dangerous. Oh geez, I see a big old rock right there. Is that a rock? I don't even know what that is. Let's make sure everything works. Let me see if I remember how to do this. So there's one way on the hydraulics to get it to go. The cool thing is you have that little window right there that shows you the blade. Okay, there we go. So I think if I hold down the hydraulic button here, it enables me to have the hydraulics constant on. So basically I scroll over on my little thumb wheel here and it leaves it on. And it's actually very efficient when it's running full speed. Let's get it up to speed here and we'll do a little bit of cutting. Just knock some stuff down here. So really all we're cutting is these little wispy things. I think we need to go somewhere a little more impressive. Now obviously I didn't buy this thing to mow my entire field here. That is not the intended purpose of this. Obviously this is way too small. A Mini X is way too slow. Now I'm taking us to the front of the property here because this is where I'm hoping this thing shines the most. One of the most important things around here to protect is my fence line. The reason being, when the fires came through, we had to replace 1,700 feet of fencing that burned down. That was right when COVID wood prices went through the roof. That was extremely expensive. And there was actually a GoFundMe set up that helped pay for a lot of that, so I appreciate you guys that jumped in when that happened. And in an effort to be proactive, we're gonna hope that never happens again. So currently, all of my fence line is pretty well weed whacked. But one of the main reasons I wanted this thing was to be able to reach under that bottom picket of the fence there, which this can, but also for what you're seeing right here. So in front of my property, there's a drainage swell that runs pretty much the entire length of the front of the property all the way down yonder that way. This is actually the least extreme of it, where it's not super gnarly and super steep, but we're gonna start here and we're gonna try it out here. This is not ideal conditions to get into with like a skid steer and a brush cutter. Can you do it? Yes, you absolutely can. But you're probably gonna destroy some of the drainage swell in the process, and I don't wanna do that. So my goal with the Mini X here is this thing can reach out just from the road here, get this side of the drainage swell, which means I'm gonna have to pivot it my way. That's gonna be dangerous. We'll figure that out. And then reach over and be able to get that side of the drainage swell as well. Now, this remains to be tested. We have not done this yet. I'm not 100% sure how this is gonna go. And if it doesn't, then I just wasted a lot of money on this brush cutter. But if you guys have ever seen flail mowers off the back of like farm tractors, and they'll basically run down the entire sides of roads. They do it around here as well, with like, it almost looks like a backhoe attachment off the back, but it's got a flail mower on it. And that's how they trim the sides of roads. This is essentially the same technology, minus it's not a flail mower, it's a brush cutter. It's just not on a farm tractor. And being I'm working with what I got, and this is the one piece of equipment I have, I'm doing my best here to be as efficient as I can with the Mini X. All right, guys, let's see how we do here. Firing up the brush cutter. All right, so I'm gonna keep it pointed that way, which means I'm not exactly gonna get to that part of the slope. Better than getting shot by a rock. Now you can see it's kind of a real similar concept. Oh, totally missed that bugger right there. It's kind of a similar concept to the farm tractor and the flail mower, because thankfully this thing does allow me to track as it's cutting. If it didn't, it would totally kind of suck. So I'm glad it does, because now it allows me to travel along the ditch. And again, on this side, I'm not gonna cut as probably low as I should, because I really don't want to shoot something back at me in the cab, because we are pretty exposed here with this big old glass front. Now mind you, I will get better at this. I know we're missing a couple pieces here. And then the more we do this, the more we're gonna find where rocks are, and I'll knock the rocks out of the way, or they'll go shooting out of the way. And then, you know, I'll be able to do this a little more confidently. Now let's see how we do on the upslope side of things. And of course, because if we're doing work, the donkeys gotta come over and say hi. Donkeys, you gotta stay back. Look, I know you guys can't read. Stay back 300 feet, donkeys. That's like 15 feet. Go further. Go. Keep going. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Nothing to see here. Now this area right here gives you a better idea of this drainage swell. So you can see basically angles down right there and then angles back up on the other side. So coming in here with like a traditional, I don't know, 52-inch skid steer brush cutter, it's just not gonna really work right here without destroying this drainage swell. So far I've been pretty freaking stoked on how this is working. I know I could do a little cleaner job and spend a little bit more time getting in here. The reach on this Mini X is like freaking perfect for what we're doing here, to where I can just stay in pretty much a straight line. You can kind of see my tracks there, and I just track it over with my feet, run my joysticks here to move the boom around, and we're just cruising. right here we're getting into some of the thicker stuff, so you're really able to see how much it'll cut down. And it's not like I'm over here doing land clearing or anything with this. So I know this stuff's not super thick, but this stuff would be miserable to cut through with a weed whacker. You would be changing string a lot. Actually, when I had the guys out here, we were weed whacking, and then we actually, for some of this thicker stuff, just opted to use a pick and just rip the whole bush up. It was quicker than trying to weed whack through whatever type of woody bush this is. And hopefully by doing this, it promotes the growth of this little green grass that grows up here. I don't know where that stuff comes from. I mean, it grows back. Anytime it rains, that stuff grows up, and especially in the shade where the moisture stays, that stuff grows. I don't know what type of grass that is. Maybe I'll get a closer look and maybe you guys can identify it. I'd love to buy some of that seed and just spread it in areas, maybe throw a little water out every once in a while and see if we can get that stuff to grow. And I think as long as I keep that tailing edge right there like in the dirt or pointed that way, we're gonna be pretty safe from any debris flying this way. So far we've been really fortunate here. Nothing has flown up this way. I am so freaking happy with this here brush cutter, guys. I mean, look at that, we've knocked all of that out. I haven't actually been keeping track of time, but with having to like jump off, put the GoPro up places and all that, it obviously slowed me down, and I'm still really trying to feel this thing out. But so this is the grass that's growing everywhere. Again, maybe you guys, I mean, it looks just like standard, I don't even know, grass. But this stuff literally, when it gets hot and dry, disappears, and this will all be dirt. And then it rains and it all starts growing back again. Cool thing about brush cutting is, look, we've exposed it all. So it's almost like a nice grassy hillside now leading up to the fence versus all of this caca that's all dried out and in the way here. Obviously, you know, over time this stuff will get chewed up more, and I could sit here and go back and forth a few more times to really chomp it up a little bit better so it looks a little cleaner. Oh, all right, guys, we got some really thick stuff here and a good bit of it. Let's chomp this up, see what this looks like and how she does here. This thing is so freaking mighty for how small it is. I mean, this stuff in here was thick. I don't think this has ever been brush cut. And again, I could sit here and chop it up more if I want to actually spend the time to. But I mean, we cleared this entire hillside and it is steep. I left kind of the Mini X there to give you a little gauge there on how steep that is. But you're not really going to want to run up and down this with equipment or a weed whacker. But for now, we're going to call it quits. Let's go throw the Mini X back and head over to James's house and see what he is up to. I am curious as to how hot the hydraulic fluid gets. Again, once this thing's up and spinning, it's not really pulling that much hydraulic pressure, but it actually doesn't feel hot. I mean, I can grab these fittings, no problem. These things, I would assume, would have been like boiling hot. Let's check up here. Let's see what the coupling feels like. So that is not bad. That is not bad. Okay, we have made it over to James's house. Let's go see what he's doing over here. He picked up the old concrete mixer, Papa Rhino's ancient concrete mixer. Whew, got a lot of fence posts that he has augured out here. A lot of concrete. What's up, buddy? It's a lot of concrete.
Yeah, it's a long stretch. I got half a pallet over there too.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm gonna try and do like 2.5 to 3 bags per
hole.
Per hole.
Well, luckily we went 60-pound bags.
Getting old.
I saw you grab that. I'm like, God, James, you're that big that you made a 90 look that small. But no, 60-pound bags. Don't matter to me. old trusty has the batch mixed up here. Got James rolling it down there. Look at James over here using the Milwaukee scissors to open the Milwaukee level with the Milwaukee tumbler. And then, what, we got another level there?
I don't know, it just looked cool.
All right, fair.
I was out here in the dark last night, like, trying to see my orange marks, like,
Freaking in the new work dudes. The other ones got retired.
uh-oh.
Yeah.
How long did that take?
They were my first pair.
Dude.
Not a bad eye.
Perfect.
Now, just out of curiosity, was the plan to mix this by hand without the mixer? Oh, that's a fun day.
That's how I did the rest of it.
All right.
My exercise plan.
There you go. All right, y'all, we are chugging along. 2 down, 400 to go. Nice and plumbed up there on the line. Alrighty guys, check out my new truck I got. This is James 5500. We are making some freaking great time, guys. All of those are already in. We're almost halfway done here. James is bringing more pipe with the 299 there. We've got about a third of this pallet left, actually a little bit less, and then I think there's another half pallet that he has, so we're gonna try and stretch this concrete out to make it. They burned through the first pallet, James bringing the other half there, and we've only got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 more to go. And we've still got a little bit of daylight left. So that's good. Let's see, we've been on this for all of 2 hours. Well, James was obviously on it earlier, but I've been here for 2 hours. And we got all of these set. Freaking mixer, it's a winner. Alrighty, y'all, this is the last hole we got here. Get all this concrete out of here. Here we go. Please be a deep hole so we can burn up most of this. With a little left over there. And we are right to the line. Make sure we're plumb this way. A little dirt in there. We are done. I don't know, I think this is like 400 feet or so, give or take there in 2.5, 3 hours. Alrighty, old girl. You served us well today. You served us well. Oh yeah. Let's just take a second to sight down this and look how freaking nice and straight this is. Now we're in the mini truck. We are towing. Let's see if you can see it back there. Maybe not, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if you can see that or not. We are towing the concrete mixer back to the house. Alrighty guys, well, today actually went really well. The brush cutter works freaking great. We were able to help James get a bunch of posts in for his fencing. It's been a while since we've had like a day where nothing went wrong. I mean, I should probably knock on some wood there. We don't want to jinx it, but I'm excited to jump in that Mini X now and brush cut all along the entire fence line of the property. I'm glad that all worked out because that was an expensive piece to buy there. So with that, we're going to wrap up. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not subscribed already, please click the subscribe button now that you do not miss out on any future content. Don't forget to give this video a like and get a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out workforapparel.com. Make sure you get you guys some of that Work For It jerky. That stuff is, oof, that is some tasty stuff. You guys are the best. I'm out.
Damn. Yeah. Yeah.